Get Mr. Wheeler.
I forgot. Call this meeting of the Huron School Board to order. I'll ask the business manager to note the roll call and ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item is adoption of the agenda. The most recent edition of the agenda is before you. Is there any questions or action?
Move approval. Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Just for everybody's information, Mr. Nebelseck is traveling right now, and so he is called in, attending by telephone. So if you do have a question for him, he might be able to respond, but hopefully he can just listen, and we can proceed without him. This is maybe, in the time I've been on the board, maybe the second time total that he hasn't been personally present, so that's a pretty good record. So we'll now move on to the dates to remember. The October 1st is the high school parent-teacher conferences from 5:30 to 8:45. October 3rd is early release. October 8th is Native American Day. There's no school. So that means our Board of Education meeting is moved to the next night, Tuesday, October 9th, beginning at 5:30 PM here in the Instructional Planning Center in the arena. Then October 22nd is the next Board of Education meeting, also at 5:30 PM here in the IPC. And the remaining dates to remember are listed on the agenda. The next item is community input for any items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody here present for that? Seeing nobody coming forward, we'll move on to number 7, conflict disclosures. I don't see any listed for that, so we'll move on to 8, consent agenda. The superintendent of schools recommends approval of the following. A, board approval of new hires. We have Michaela Hofer as a SPED paraeducator at the high school. We have Lacey Nelson as a TAP classroom leader. Shadrin Van Zee as a substitute teacher. We have one contract for board approval for Vanya Muntz, which is an extra duty pay for the middle school memory book. We have 6 resignations for board approval. Mary Foster and Deb Lodmill from the TAP program. Jake Houston as the varsity wrestling assistant coach. Charles Price in food service. Amy Gravgard in the transportation department. And Dean Lindstad in the transportation department. And then D, consideration and approval of bills that are attached in the board packet. As always, we can pass the consent agenda in one motion, or you can ask a question on an item, or you can seek to have it pulled out and it'll be placed on the business portion of the meeting. Any questions or action?
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Now for celebrating successes in the district, we want to congratulate our homecoming royalty for 2018, King Tanner Evers and Queen Gemma Keeler. Also in the court are Isabel Ford, Tracy Albrecht, Sylvia Katner, Jamie Holforty, Sarah Christensen, Bryce Steffen, Chipper Schillingstad, Parker Brower, Matt Katz, and Jake Weedy. We also congratulate the Huron cheer and dance teams on an excellent performance at the Cheer and Dance Huron Invitational held on September 18th. And that is it for the celebrating successes portion of the agenda. We'll now move on to reports to the board. Our one report to the board is a good news report from the high school. Principal Mike Radke is presenting that report.
Good evening. I just have three things. I know the only thing left on the agenda is the executive session, so I won't take up too much time. The first item to mention, and you'll be receiving an invite also from Mr. Nebelsek's office soon, I'm sure. On October 5th at 1 p.m., we do have an Our Home graduation. So we try to get a couple each year as the staff out there works hard to help those young men transition to get their diplomas. And when we do get one, we try to make a big deal out of it because it is a big deal. Whether you get your diploma at the end of the year or during the school year at Our Home, we try to make it special for that student. Number two, and of course I gave you all a copy and I forgot to grab one for myself. A report on dual credit. We have 45 students, juniors and seniors, taking part in the dual credit program this school year. Those 45 students are taking 64 classes, so obviously a handful are taking 2 and 3 courses. 16 at USD, 11 SDSU, 10 NSU, 4 at Black Hills, 1 from Huron Community Campus, 1 from DSU, 1 at Lake Area Tech, and 1 from Southeast Tech. So a good split. That is traditionally what we see. The number's down a little bit for the number of students who are taking classes. We, the counselors, and Mrs. Knichny and I think part of that reason is we've eliminated those students who are taking dual credit just to have another study hall in their schedule. We're still in the process of allowing them to choose which periods they're going to stay on campus to work on their dual credit. I'm hoping that for the most part they can have solid ground in their current grades, so when I go to meet with them, they can say, yeah, but I'm pulling an A right now, and then I can do that's fine, you can keep going off campus as long as you keep that A. We've talked to other school districts about the way that they do dual credit. A lot of them have no problem with kids leaving campus, and one school that we just had a regional principals meeting not too long ago, and they have a 7-period day of which students have to take 5 classes. And he said, I might have a kid take 3 dual credit, so they're only in my building 2 periods. I said, that's the struggle I was having. My best and my brightest aren't there for the younger kids to see this is what you need to do as a student to be successful. So hopefully that continues on and we don't have as many kids trying to game the system, just getting another study hall to get out of the class. But so far the grades I've seen are pretty good this year. The breakdown as far as the classes they're taking, pretty traditional. In a lot of cases, just getting the generals out of the way before they go to college. One thing we talked about also is what's coming next for our students. And we've had a lot of students who dual credit really didn't benefit them much. Students that go into the nursing program, a lot of schools, it's 3 semesters of work and then you apply for the nursing program. Well, if they go into college already with 20 credits, that doesn't work out for them. They've got to take another semester of credits and pick up a minor. And when you're a nurse, you don't really need a minor. You're just going to college to be a nurse. So we've run into some things like that. Another area that I'm hoping they continue to develop is looking less at our students as full-time college students before they even get on campus. We had one student who took 3 classes last year, ended up having to withdraw from 1 class because she couldn't get any communication from the professor. And it left a W on her transcript. It's not a big deal. Many people have W's on their transcript. But because she didn't pass 67% of her classes, as college freshmen need to in order to stay in good standing with the university, she is on probation as a freshman, having never stepped foot on a college campus before. And I think like things like that I struggle with, them treating our kids as if they're already college students. And we also recently learned that the college professors on an online class, they don't know which kids are high school kids and which kids are college kids. They don't show up anywhere like that. So if I try to email to help intervene with a student, they won't talk to me because of FERPA. They won't talk to me. They'll only talk to the student. So we're not the only one dealing with the growing pains of the addition of dual credit, but I like that we've got 45 students. That's a pretty good chunk of our kids that are taking advantage of the program. There at the bottom, you see the two HHS courses we offer. We have 9 in Bio 151 and 23 in Chem 106. And those are just the students that are taking it for credit. We've got 3 more in the bio class and about 10 more in the chem class that are taking the class but not getting credit for it. They wanted the experience of the college class without it being dual credit. So I like that we're still able to offer a couple of those in-house. As long as we get the numbers, we can keep offering those classes. But the number is 8. We have to have at least 8 in order to offer the class every year. So we cross our fingers and we beg a little bit, and usually we can get to that number. The last item, talking about homecoming, I'll just go through a couple of the events that we went through because we did have events every night of the week. We started with coronation on Monday night, and this is probably the 4th or 5th year we've had it on Monday night versus after the volleyball game on Thursday. And I've received mixed reviews, and I typically leave it up to the kids. It's their homecoming, it's what they want, and the feedback from the kids who have been part of the court say they like having it on Monday and being done with it. It's not something that's the whole week long waiting to figure out who the king and queen are. It's a little bit less stress for them. So for the time being, it's Monday. Next year's student council may make a change. Tuesday we had both boys and girls soccer in town, as well as hosting cheer and dance. Wednesday night is the night that each class decorates the halls. Probably not a widely known event in the community, but we have roughly 10 to 15 kids from each class, and they get to decorate a hallway by themselves. And it's very creative what they come up with sometimes. But they have a nice night. And again, it's providing an activity at school where they're supervised. Thursday night, we saw the volleyball team take on the Yankton Gazelles. Friday, we spend the whole day as a school doing pep things. We start with the pep rally at the school, then we come to the arena and have battle of the classes. We have the parade. Thanks to everyone in the community and the fire department and police department for helping put that parade on. We had, I believe, about 80 floats in it this year. And there had to be, because when I got back, the sack of candy that my kids brought home was ridiculous. So thank you to the community for supporting the parade. We had a tailgate before the football game, and then our boys battled against the Bucks. Ultimately weren't successful, but I think it was the biggest crowd that I've seen at a football game in a while. And I talked to some of the boys today, and they're disappointed. I said, guys, we're in the game. We've been in every game. I said, you're battling. You've got people in here unexcited about football. There's nothing to feel bad about. So hopefully this Friday we can head down to Mitchell and show the Kerners what we're all about. And then Saturday morning we had ESD golf here in town. The boys placed 3rd. And then I get to end my week. I give tours to the alumni classes that come back for reunion. I had members of both the class of 68 and 78 there. And then I end the night with the Hall of Fame banquet. And I like that those are the last 2 things because it's a good reminder for me of the pride that people who have graduated from Huron High School 50 years ago, and they still come back for the reunion. And I get to tell them different stories, and one of the things I talk about is our school looks very, very different from what it did 40 or 50 years ago. But the pride that our kids have in the school of being a Huron Tiger is the same pride that they have and had 40 and 50 years ago. I don't think a lot of schools get to experience the support they get from the community and being a Huron Tiger. So it's great to hear the memories. The classes from the 70s typically like to tell me stories of all the stuff they got away with that their principal never found out about. So I get to enjoy some of those too. But it is a fun week, and this senior class and the following classes, I mean, they're just great kids. I'm really, really enjoying the start to the year, and I hope to continue. So any questions on those 3 issues or anything else that's going on at the high school?
I have a question on the dual credit. Last year, how did your second semester numbers compare to your first semester?
Second semester, there's usually a little bit better.
Sure.
I think we'll probably see the same thing this year, but the counselors do a much better job of keeping track of that stuff than I do. Usually a second semester is a little bit better because they don't start several weeks before school. They're already in school. So.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
For the dual credit, do we have to offer a comparable course, or can they take any course on a college course list and then we have to give credit for it?
They can take any class that they want and we give credit for it.
Okay.
It'd be similar to if a student came to us from a reservation school and they took Native American Studies, we're gonna transcript the Native American Studies class. Yep.
And so like one person's taking government, if they take American Government 101, does that count as their senior government required course?
We have been. Usually, we counsel the kids to take the high school class first, especially like a psychology or sociology. Get the beginner high school stuff first, so you kind of understand what the course is about going into it, and then take the college level. But we don't require them to take ours before they take the college level. That's an academic decision that's up to them and their parents.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your report.
Thanks.
Well, as you can see, we have no other business to take care of tonight under old or new business. The last item is an executive session. So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session under SDCL 1-25-2, sub 4, preparing for contract negotiations or negotiating with employees or employee representatives. That is not the correct subheading we're going under. We're going under the one for personnel.
Section 2, I believe.
We're gonna grab out the correct citation because we want to make sure we cite it correctly. Because if we learn anything in our sessions on open meetings rules, is you have to make sure you cite your executive session law correctly. So that way everybody is aware of what we're doing. Let me see if I can find it on here. Let's see if I can look it up this way. We're all looking it up. We'll see who gets it first.
Employees one.
Employees is 1. Yep, there we go. I just got it too. Garrett wins.
Good job.
So we're going under SDCL 1-25-1, sub 1, discussing the qualifications, competence, performance, character, or fitness of any public employee or officer. Okay. I'll
Make
entertain-
that motion.
Thank you very much. There's a motion and a second to go into executive session for that purpose. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. We'll have a brief recess, then go into executive session. There'll be no further business or action taken after that. We are in recess.